Hey there, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we are exploring the colors of artist Marilyn Feldman. We are in her studio finding out what her process is like and what inspires her. Perhaps it would inspire you. Get ready, the 302 is headed your way. Welcome to the creative space of Marilyn Feldman. Marilyn, thank you so much for allowing us to come in and check out your process and your inspiration.
We're delighted to have you visit.
So talk to us a little bit about your medium.
I'm working now in pastels. For about 30 years, I was a watercolor artist. But when I retired from my day job and I wanted to get back to my art more full-time, my watercolors just weren't speaking to me. And I took some lessons with Nick Serratori in pastel. I had worked with pastel when I was about 12, and I thought there might be something new to learn about current techniques and materials. And I discovered I really liked it. The colors are very rich and vibrant and juicy, and I enjoy working with them. So these are all original pastels. They're all one-of-a-kind paintings.
So it's kind of like a journey and growth along the way. I find that the best artists do the same thing. You know, they go back, they refine, they go in different directions. So you feel that's sort of what happened with you, or?
Well, I have my second grade teacher to thank for my interest in art.
Oh, yeah?
So when I was in second grade, my teacher told my parents, everyone else is drawing lollipop trees, but Marilyn is drawing three-dimensional objects and shading them.
Mm-hmm.
She should have art lessons. So my parents sent me to the Corcoran Gallery School of Art.
Oh, nice.
And there you started at the time with charcoal, just black and white. And when they figured you could draw and you knew the difference between dark and light, you could work with pastel. And when you worked with pastel, that was your first experience with color. Then you graduated to oils. Mm-hmm. So I worked with oils for quite a while. Then I got married, I had kids, and I thought, gee, this stuff is really toxic. It's not good to have in a small apartment.
Yeah.
So I switched to watercolors at that point and painted in watercolors for quite some time. So there has been an evolution.
An evolution, absolutely. And looking at your work, many of them are landscapes. So do you paint plein air, or is it from memory, or?
I use my camera as my sketchbook. So I love the landscape here. I love the Henlopen State Park. I love the wetlands. So I take pictures and I'll paint from my phone.
So yeah, so let's talk about your process. You go out, do you know what you're looking for, or do you just kind of like let it happen, let it unfold?
If a scene appeals to me, I take some pictures. I like the kind of scenery where you feel like you could walk into the picture, mm-hmm. where you can linger, where your eye stays in the painting, where you feel like it's a calm mm-hmm. scene that touches you, that you could become part of.
Yeah, there's just so much beauty in the landscapes that you've put together. It could be like, you know, near a body of water or a field. You know, I see that you have some sunflowers that are really delightful. What's the story behind the sunflowers?
The pictures of the sunflowers all got taken at the Lewis Farmers Market.
Okay.
So, I find inspiration everywhere here.
Absolutely. And as an artist, I guess you kind of have to do that. You have to have your eyes open because you never know when it's going to strike.
Right.
Do you ever find that you're out and you're like, oh, you know, I got to do this, or you get an idea?
I need to take a picture of this and take it back to the studio.
I would love to see the pictures in your phone. I can imagine they're probably pretty nice.
We'll have to find them. They're all mixed. I'm not very good with organizing my pictures. So vacations and pictures that I might want to paint from and my paintings are all mixed up together.
Yeah, there's just a wide variety. You mentioned the farmer's market. Now the baskets, that's really interesting.
The baskets actually came from a trip to Williamsburg.
Okay.
So that was from a window in Williamsburg.
Mm-hmm. And what was it about that window that, I mean, the way you translate it is beautiful, but what was it about that window that really kind of spoke to you?
You know, often windows are almost like still lifes that someone has arranged for you, and they're just sitting there. So many of my watercolors were storefront windows that I worked on.
The texture of the baskets is amazing. I mean, to get that, you know, to come through, just the technique of it must have taken a while.
That one took a long time. But if you look at it carefully, it's really not that explicitly detailed. It gives the impression of being detailed, but it's, if you get up close, it's not that exact.
Yeah, but it just kind of, you feel in your mind that you could run your fingers along the ribs of the basket.
Great.
Yeah, so it really is lovely. So, but one of our favorites that we were talking about before we started taping was the light ship overfalls. That it just sings to you, just the reflection.
I love to work with water because water gives you great reflections. And the light ship overfalls is just such a cool ship. It's got a great history. And I've painted it 2 or 3 times from different angles. My brother-in-law used to have a boat, and I would go down the canal with him and take pictures from the water, which I think is the best view of the light ship.
It really is amazing, the reflection that you were talking about. I mean, for like an artist at home, is there a trick to, or a tip to painting the reflection? I mean, you do it so well.
Oh, thank you. The reflections are just the image upside down. And sometimes the reflections are a little darker, sometimes they're a little brighter than the original image, and they show up best if the water is calm and flat.
Really, really is something. And when you talk about light really does play into all of your paintings. Your paintings are so bright. I love that about that.
Thank you. So I like the richness of the color with the pastel, and I like the highlights. Many people say the paintings still look like watercolors in a way, and when you paint with watercolor, you have to save the white of the paper. And I sometimes do that, but pastel gives you a white to work with as well, so you can go back and get these highlights in.
Now, we are going to learn so much more about your process and your inspiration when we return.
I'm Mike Fleischman, I'm an artist, and I popped into my portable time machine to be on the 302.
Welcome back. We are hanging out with artist Marilyn Feldman to find out a little bit about her process and what gets her creative juices flowing. Now, Marilyn, this is one of your works in progress. Tell me a little bit about it.
This is a scene at the Henlopen State Park. The lighthouse is in the distance. And I was just taken by the scene, by the colors, by the waves crashing towards shore. And I worked from a photograph. So when I start, I lay an initial background layer of pigment on the paper with pastels. And because I miss having a brush in my hand, I take a solvent and I will brush the solvent over this background color and let it begin to dissolve and drip. And this gives me a lot of interesting textures that I leave, many of them, in the painting. When that's dry, I go back, I refine the drawing, and then I really start to lay in the finished painting with soft pastels. And I build it up layer by layer until I feel like it's finished.
Now you're talking about that solvent technique that you're using. It really kind of gives the illusion of rain, and you have this. It's common in some of your other pieces, right?
Yes. I have some pictures. One of them is called Chance of Rain, and the chance of rain is 100% because it's really raining in the painting. That one's just behind you.
It really is, and it evokes kind of like a mood, like a melancholy, you know, with the colors and just how you've configured everything within the frame.
I think that letting the pigment run across the page really creates an interesting texture that's underneath, and it comes through in the finished painting.
Yeah,
yes.
It definitely does. And I love in this piece how you're able to get that crashing of the wave. You know, and when we talk about the kinds of the medium that you use, I mean, can you like just kind of pick up and show us?
All right, this is a hard pastel. It's a firm stick. This is what I use for the underpainting, the initial color that goes onto the paper. After I use the solvent and it dries, I switch to soft pastels because these are much more vibrant colors. Those are over there. And they're much juicier, they're much more intense. The colors are more intense.
Okay.
And that's what I use to finish the painting.
So how long does it typically take you? I mean, do you just let it take you where it takes you, or?
I let it take me where it takes me. Sometimes a picture comes together very quickly and a session or two in the studio and it's done. And some of them are a little more of a struggle to get finished.
Yeah, I can imagine, depending upon the subject. You have a really beautiful forest scene where there are these amazing red flowers. Tell me a little bit about that.
I love that picture because it just is so moody. It has a dark, almost lavender background, and then there's this amazing light that comes through on the forest floor and lights up some grasses and the wildflowers underneath.
It really is lovely, and it just shows how much you love your subjects. You treat your subject with such, I want to say, like, tenderness.
My paintings are like my kids.
That's good, that's good.
I want them to go to good homes.
So whenever you're creating, do you have to have a special, does conditions have to be right? What do you listen to?
I listen to classical music.
Okay.
I love classical music. And I find just the ride out to the studio, so I live in Lewis and the studio is in Milton, and just the ride out Cave Neck Road, past the fields and the farms, just kind of resets my mind and puts me in the right mood when I get here.
It's kind of like the prelude, right?
Right.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know, in a classical song, you start out and then all of a sudden you get to the big finish. So you listen to classical music, and tell us about the space that we're in.
We're in a garage.
Yeah, but you know what? Creativity can happen anywhere, right?
So this building was originally a garage used to repair riding lawnmowers and farm equipment. And now each of the service bays is a different artist's studio or exhibit space.
That's amazing.
I think I'm in the office because I have a lot of electrical outlets, and I have a real door, not a garage door.
That's amazing. And when we come back, we're going to learn more about your inspiration. I really want to dig into, you know, what inspires you and when that started. So we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Brian Miller, Associate Curator at the Historic Odessa Foundation, and I just love the history on the 302.
Welcome back. We are hanging out with Marilyn Feldman, talking about her inspiration and her process. So what artists have inspired you to, you know, follow technique, build your own technique? I mean, who makes your heart sing?
I think the Impressionists make my heart sing. They worked with color. I love to play with color. If you look at my pictures, Not all the colors that are in the picture are really there in nature, but I have a great time playing with color. And the Impressionists also worked with different light and the same subject, but in different light, and I like to do that as well.
Absolutely. So when you talk about the Impressionists, I mean, what do you think, Monet or?
Monet, Cézanne, the whole group.
The whole group,
I
all
love
of
them all.
Absolutely. I did notice a Georgia O'Keeffe book
Yes.
back there. Yeah, she was a master for sure. The Impressionists are amazing, but I can tell by your work that you have had inspiration in so many areas.
I had really a very thorough art education at the Corcoran Gallery of Art and at George Washington University. So there really have been artists throughout history and architects who really have inspired me all along. And even into the more modern era, my work is not super abstract, clearly, but there are modern artists who also have a lot to teach us.
I feel like whenever you meet someone who is so into their work, it inspires you in whatever area, whether it's, art or music, to try to chase your own dreams. You know what I'm saying?
And there's a wonderful artists community here at the beach. So there are a lot of opportunities to exhibit and to work with other artists on shows, and I think we inspire each other. So for people who are wondering, how do I get more involved? I think to find an artists group in your community is a really good place to start.
And just start, and don't think that you have to be Monet or, Wyeth or anybody like that. You be your own.
And they don't all turn out.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't all turn out.
Yeah, but every once in a while they do. I wanted to ask you about your notebooks. Speaking of architecture, tell me a little bit about these books.
I like to travel with a small watercolor set. I take 2 brushes, a small container for water, and a sketchbook. I travel very light, so to devote space in my little suitcase to art is really important to me, though. So this is a trip from Greece that I took very recently, and
Santorini.
That's
just
the last
amazing.
one.
So that's the last one. Let me go to the beginning. I mean, you can really tell. I mean, they're gorgeous. How long do you just sit there?
Every night I try to do a picture.
Yeah.
So by the end of the tour, I have a sketchbook filled with pictures, and my sketchbooks become my souvenirs.
I mean, and they're just breathtaking. Absolutely. You should do a book, like an actual book, my travel book. Absolutely, that would be, I would buy it. Seriously. So what are you working on now?
I'm working on this one. I have really, this is my season to paint. I paint during the winter because during the summer I'm involved in a lot of outdoor shows, and that takes away the time. So this is my creative time. This the season where you're not tempted to sit on the beach in 30-degree weather, and I come here and this is my happy place.
Well, you can definitely tell this is your happy place, and we really appreciate you allowing us to come into your happy place.
I am delighted to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Are you enjoying your tour of Marilyn Feldman's studio? Well, here are some other things you might want to check out. To check out more of Marilyn's art, all you have to do is go to marilynfeldmanart.com. That'll do it for this week's episode of the 302. Make sure you follow us on Facebook to get some behind-the-scenes content you're just not going to get anywhere else. We're going to leave you now of a beauty shot of the area around the Lightship Overfalls. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. Tell them you saw it on the 302.